Your name, organization, and position.
Well, I'm Jenille Ball, and I'm the director of Hospice at Montgomery. I'm a registered nurse. I came here in 1990 as the clinical director, and then became the executive director around 96 or 97.
Give a short description about hospice and the different type of programs you offer.
Hospice is for people with a life-limiting illness. In other words, short of a miracle, that disease is not going to be reversed or cured. The care is provided in the home. It is proactive symptom management, trying to keep people at home and keep them comfortable. A registered nurse visits that patient, assesses them, and works with them on their medications with the doctor. Trained aides help them with their personal care. Social worker helps them with their psychosocial and emotional needs, and chaplains work with them on their spiritual needs, and then bereavement services for the families after the patient dies.
Where does most of your funding come from?
We are reimbursed by Medicare, Medicaid, and most private insurance companies do have a hospice benefit. But what the reimbursement and the cost of care are different. So it costs more to provide the care than we get reimbursed. So we have to do a lot of fundraising.
How has your organization helped the community?
We help people stay at home, die at home rather than go to institutions. We do a lot of community work with our bereavement person. We have support groups. We're in collaboration right now with the Cancer Wellness Center. Our counselor goes over there once a week and facilitates a support group, Living with Cancer, not about hospice. We work with the schools. Unfortunately, there have been some tragic losses of young people in the school system over the last few years, and our bereavement counselor will get called in to work with the students and with the teachers. Businesses, we do the same thing. We go into small businesses who have sudden unexpected loss and help them work through grief processes with our bereavement counselor. All of those services are offered to the community without charge.
I noticed in one of your brochures that it said how hospice, like they did an assessment, hospice was like 20% better than the nation rank. How would you say hospice is successful? Why is it successful?
Because hospice started out as a mission rather than a business. And in fact, it started out, it had a lot of religious undertones to it. For many years, it was considered, it was not mainstream medicine. It is now. It's considered a specialty area, just like a cardiologist or pulmonologist, and you have people who work in hospice care. I think it's successful because it looks at the person as a whole, not just one thing. It looks at the person and the family as a unit, and it looks at everything from the physical, spiritual, social, emotional aspects of our human functioning.
On average, how many people do you help a year?
Let me see. Last year we took care of 160 patients, and then you add to that their families. You know, they at least had two primary caregivers or loved ones that we continue to take care of after the patient dies.
How many people are employed at hospice?
In this hospice in Montgomery, we have 22, and that includes 2 of our medical directors who are part-time.
I guess you already kind of answered this, but can you elaborate on the other types of care that you provide besides just the physical?
We have medical social worker who deals with She can do individual counseling. She does practical support. We can help people execute advanced directives. We have an attorney on our board who will help our families with an uncomplicated will. She can help them identify community resources like sitters. A lot of people, that's one of their primary needs, is some assistance in the home. So she can do not only the supportive type counseling, but help them with practical assistance. We do help them with funeral planning. And then, of course, our chaplain. We are non-denominational, so we can address any spiritual need that a patient might have. But I would say maybe 91% of our patient population are traditional Protestant belief system. But we can address any spiritual belief system that a patient or family may have. And our chaplain officiates funerals. And then, of course, as I said, about our community counseling efforts. I think that about gets the services.
Mm-hmm. How do you work?
Oh, volunteers. I've got to tell you, we have a whole volunteer program. And these are people that come from all walks of life. Many of them are our families, former family members, and they go through a training program. We have volunteers who go into the patient's home and run errands, service companion, etc., etc. We have volunteers who work here in the office doing clerical work for us. And then, of course, we have volunteers, a huge number of volunteers that work with us in fundraising.
How do you work with the whole family?
How do we work with the whole family? Hospice care is unique in that it does view the patient and the family as a unit. When a patient comes to us, he has a particular illness or disease that not only affects him, but his entire family system. So our goal is a good outcome for that patient. And in order to get that, we've got to get the family all on the same page and shore them up and help them get through this time. So we work with them just like we do the patient from a psychosocial standpoint as far as counseling and support. I had a gentleman came in yesterday. We took care of his dad. And he was telling us how everything was in chaos in his mind. His daddy lived with him until we came along. He said just helping him organize his day, helping him know how to fix his dad's medicines, give his dad's medications. Here comes the aide to help with the personal care. And here's Alice, the social worker now, helping him find sitters and advising him on what he needs to look for in a sitter, etc. So that's how we work with the families, help pull everybody together, get them on the same page.
What are your requirements for taking in a patient?
Eligibility requirements are defined by Medicare, Medicaid, and most private insurance companies. To be eligible for hospice care, the patient has to have a life-limiting illness, and that is defined by Medicare as being 6 months, a prognosis of 6 months or less to live if the disease runs its usual course. Cancer follows a very defined trajectory. I can tell you when I see a cancer patient, if we're talking about days or weeks or months to live. But patients with non-cancer diagnoses like COPD, heart failure, they're a little more difficult because they go up and down. They're good today and they have a bad day tomorrow, and then they get back up and have a little bit better day. So it's a little more difficult to prognosticate with them. But we can take patients who fit the criteria at the time of admission, and if their condition stables out and they improve, then we just discharge them. And then when they need our services again, we can go back in.